Welcome to Trade, Commerce, and Tourism Committee. It's Wednesday, January 7th, the first committee of the year. You already said that. And Councilmember Rosendahl will not be here this morning. I believe he's on his way to that service, and you're going to be leaving
at 9:20.
Okay, so we'll get through this agenda as quickly as we can. I thought if there's no objections, we would take 6 through 8, 6, 7, and 8 on consent.
Very good.
Okay, good. All right, so then let's start with...
And the commissioner's not here yet.
Oh, Chris isn't here yet? Okay. So Chris is not here, so let's go on to item 2.
Under item 2, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval the First Amendment to Courtesy Shuttle Service Contract Number DA 3745 with Service Air LLC. This is a contract for the provision of courtesy shuttle service at Ontario International Airport. The amendment would extend the term on a month-to-month basis for up to 24 months, beginning on February 2nd, 2009, so that airport staff can complete a new request for proposals process for award of a new 5-year operating agreement, and so that the successful proposer can purchase and put into service compressed natural gas fueled buses as required by the RFP. The amendment also would authorize additional compensation up to $13.1 million to cover the shuttle services rendered, and would add provisions for compliance with the city's equal employment practices and equal benefits ordinance. The CAO has submitted a report on the proposed contract amendment and recommends approval.
Okay, who wants to tell me about this?
Good morning. My name is Wendy Kamayatsu from Ontario International Airport.
Hi, Wendy.
Hi. We're here today to request to extend this contract and to present the item to you. And I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, so this contract was going to expire on
Yes,
February 1st.
That's correct.
So are we cutting this a little close, or?
Little.
Still
A little. You know, and I'll just bring this up, because I bring this up all the time. And actually, this is, at least, because we've had contracts come to us that had expired a year ago or 6 months ago. So at least we're getting in under the wire. But I was just wondering how we're doing on kind of a master spreadsheet on when contracts expire, and are we well in advance of that, you know, renegotiating them or extending them? How are we doing on that whole idea of, because we could have easily, you know, this is our last Commerce Committee meeting before February, because we're not having another one. So if something had happened, how would that have affected it if it had expired before we extended it? How are we doing on all that?
I think our procurement services division and the individual divisions that administer the various Mark Adams from Los Angeles World Airport.
Hi, Mark.
Hi. I think we do a pretty good job of monitoring. We're not, I mean, like you said, not 100%, but I would say we're in the high 90s in terms of addressing contracts before they expire. Part of the reason it takes a little while sometimes to get to you is because we have, you know, a rather lengthy process in advance of getting to you that can take upwards of 4 or 5 months.
Right, but you got to factor that in.
I understand. We try to factor that in.
Right.
I don't know that a master spreadsheet exists, and frankly, the master.
Here's one right here. Here's the spreadsheet. They got them on computers. All you got to do is make
No, I understand of contract expirations for.
It wouldn't be a bad idea, would it?
But I know that our procurement services division does track that sort of thing for the contracts that are, and as a division head there, I get reports from them that my contract's about to expire.
Yeah.
A few months out. Unfortunately, for contracts that do require council approval to extend them or something like that, you really have to start working on it about a year ahead of time
Right.
to really get
That's
it
the
going.
point.
And like I said, we do our best to get things to you early, but on occasion we'll cut it close like we have.
If this
a little
had
bit here.
expired, for instance, something had happened and we didn't have this meeting today, what would have happened with this particular service, this shuttle?
Sometimes what we will
have
do is
interrupted
work with
service or-
no.
Probably
Sometimes
not.
what we'll do is we'll work with the city attorney to get a small contract to patch a company through for a month or two, depending on how much that would cost. We can do that sometimes under Gina Marie's,
Right.
under the executive director's signature authority.
I would just give that as, again, as an overall recommendation that we, really look at all of these and especially just to give us an opportunity to make sure we've negotiated the best possible lease and we're not doing things because we're under the wire or anything like that.
And I don't think that's the case
Okay.
here. I think if you read the board report and
Right.
the CEO's report on this, what we're doing is just buying a little additional time to get the new contractor, the new buses in place.
Right.
That
So
will,
this is only for 24, it's month
Up
to
to.
month, up to 24 months. So this is a courtesy shuttle.
That's correct.
So that's,
The buses that take the passengers to the parking lots and to the terminals
okay.
themselves.
All right. So any questions?
Just one question. There's no question that spreadsheets are real important. In the police department, if you read analysis, why they've been successful is they started to be accountable. The only way to be accountable, they did the statistics, where crime exists, where they put their resources. All I would ask from you, just to guess, at Ontario, how many concessions you got? 15, 32, 48?
Potentially.
So let's say you have 78, so I'll
Sure.
double it. So all you got to do is list all the 78 here, the date they were, when they expire, who's the contact person. And then you share that with people, because information is knowledge is power, then we're going to track it. I've repeated the same thing, so I don't want to think I'm picking on the airports, to the Parks Department.
Right.
They have concessions for 16 years, the pony ride out and I love the pony ride.
I love the pony ride.
Why is it 16 years? It is a month to month. You got
Yeah.
the message. Thank you. And let me ask you a last question there. I saw the city controller chick had thought about selling Ontario Airport. Good or bad idea?
Personally speaking, since I work there, bad.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Now, say if you
That's the
didn't
right
work there,
answer.
then you didn't work there.
Good
You know,
answer.
Okay, good. I agree. I want to hear from that. I don't want to sell assets. No, thank you.
Right. So you're looking right now at new proposals for the next contract for
This is going out to RFP this week,
this week. So
Yes.
when do you look at potentially
potentially in April,
that you'll have
that they are due back.
that they're due back, and then
Correct.
about how long till you award this new?
Hopefully within a couple of months, if less.
And is the downturn in volume impacting how many shuttles you're?
Yes, that's correct. We will be looking at that again during this process. We
How much
probably-
are volumes down at Ontario?
Currently, I believe it's between 15-20%. Hope
So-
that changes soon, since
Yeah.
gas prices have gotten better.
Yeah, true. Okay, well, thank you, and I don't have any problem with this.
No problem.
Okay, no problem. I have no cards on this, so we'll approve this amendment.
Forthwith the council before the.
Forthwith to council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, Ontario.
Okay, the commissioner is here in the room, so we should do item 1.
Okay, under item 1, the mayor submits for council confirmation his appointment of Ms. Christine Essel to the Board of Airport Commissioners for the term ending June 30th, 2009. This appointment is to fill the vacancy created by the resignation of Ms. Sylvia Reyes-Patsoris on October 31st. The City Ethics Commission staff have reviewed Ms. Essel's statement of economic interests, and they have submitted a report to the council.
Good. Well, you and I had a great chat yesterday in my office, and it was, I've known you, I've respected you in your former career, but I am actually very excited about the mayor recommending you for the Airport Commission. It's the first new commission appointment we've had, I think, since 2005. And maybe that's something you might want to just talk about here on the record, and I would certainly ask you to talk about that in the full city council. It's just what you think you actually bring that might be a different background than the sitting commissioners right now, and I think that's what's interesting. But you and I talked about the things that that are a priority, I think, for the city, and certainly for the mayor. One is to keep moving forward with the modernization. The other thing you and I talked about was the idea of the concessions, and how is this really the right time for us to be doing it, even though it's so important. And we talked about the safety of the airport. So there's just certain things that I know that they're going to be a priority in this committee that we see continue to move forward on that front. So
And staying on track with contracts.
staying on track with contracts. I was glad that you heard that, because that's the other thing we talked about. And I think that's important. I think that just
Getting ahead of the game.
Getting ahead of the game. I mean, we're a world airport, and we need to make sure we have all that under control. So why don't you maybe just start by telling us why you want to serve at this point in your life and what you bring.
Well, I think the 30-some years I spent at a Fortune 500 company in management will be a useful set of skills to bring to a complicated department like the airport and managing the process. There's so much to do. I mean, we are at such a point in time at the airport that it's just really make or break, and it's time to move things forward. And I think that the business acumen helps to bring a focus to how to do that on a timely basis, strategically, to maximize what appear to be minimal resources, but where to find others. And so I would probably, my first role would be to try to bring those sensibilities to the commission. I think in addition to that, after having spent over 20 years doing real estate and development and project planning, given the tremendous capital project list that is coming before the commission for prioritization, I think I can help use my background in design and construction. And again, it's been a few years since I've had to do that, but it'll come back, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
And plus my years in civic service and other capacities, I think actually I really enjoyed my years on the Community Redevelopment Agency Board, and there's linkages there. I mean,
Yes,
there's a lot of
there
community
is.
issues that
That's
the CRA dealt with in its project areas, and it's not, there can't be one driver, it can't be all about business, it can't be all about the needs of the airlines. It's got to be a balance of the community concerns as well. And so it's complicated, but I think fun.
It is, and I think your background is actually perfect. I'm not sure we've ever had anyone that's sitting on the airport commission that really has your extensive background. And I think, this is our form of government in Los Angeles, is citizen commissions. Mm-hmm. It's been since our first charter in 1924. It's not every 25. Well, it was formed in 24. It was voted on in 25. I know.
That's a year here and there.
Yeah, I know. You don't argue with the historian. But, it's a tough job. I mean, you got citizens who have lives and
Right.
jobs, and you come in, and as you said, you've already got major notebooks that you're already studying for your first meeting. So it's an interesting form of government that we have in Los Angeles. But I think it's important to continue to have citizens that are that layer between the elected officials and between the people that we serve. I think it's a great system. I think I'm looking out at the harbor, the folks here from the port too, and I think the airport and the port are going to be very challenged in this economic times. Mm-hmm. And I think revenues are going to be down, volumes are going to be down, and yet there's capital projects going on at the port. There's going to be capital improvement projects at the airport. What do we do? Do we move forward? Do we stay on track so that when the economy comes back around, we're going to be ready? I would say yes. Mm-hmm. And that would be my one recommendation to the airport, is that we do keep moving forward, because this modernization plan has now been through, this is the third mayor, and as you and I talked about, you don't always have everything aligned, and we don't know what's going to happen politically, and I think both of those entities ought to keep on track with what they're doing, so that when the economy does come back up, we've got the infrastructure in place
Right.
to capture the increased volumes and the increased air traffic that will be coming through which I know will be coming through LAX.
Well, right, and a bit of a silver lining in that this is a very good time to be doing construction work and to be those jobs are out there. People need to work, and
Right.
And I think we could probably get some pretty good prices.
I was just going to say we
And
should
let's
be
be ready to
we
be
should
ready.
be negotiating better deals.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Lamont.
Well, Ms. Hahn, I won't be in council because I'm going to go to Robert Graham's funeral up the street, but I can't think of anybody who has the experience, Christine Essel at Paramount, which had transformed its lot. If she was not involved with it, she was around those who were involved with it and got all this, her background on the CRA, her commitment to Los Angeles. This is a wonderful. So I strongly
great.
support her, and I only wish I could be there to say about that, because if you looked at Paramount Pictures 30 years ago, and she was 14 years younger in the class in high school when I graduated. So, but she was an advanced student, but she was there at the start where they transformed that lot into a great lot, and they didn't leave Los Angeles. They could have gone to Glendale or Burbank or Santa Clarita. They stayed there in Hollywood, and Christine was all about that. And they were all junky parking lots, and she knew how to vacate streets. She knew how to call City Hall to get help. She knew how to direct as a great pitcher, as Mr. DeMille would do. I recommend strongly Christine Essel.
Thank you. You
Thank
can't have a better recommendation than that.
Can we
So-
play that tape?
Yeah, I know.
Could that be? Make that happen.
Yeah.
Push my button.
All right. Well, again, we are wholeheartedly in support of it. We will approve you unanimously here in committee and send you on to the full city council with our recommendation.
Thank you.
And
See
our
you-
best
see you later.
wishes.
Thank you for doing it all in one day.
Yes, you're welcome.
Under item 3, the Board of Airport Commissioners submits for council approval a replacement lease for British Airways PLC for the use of cargo, land, and office, warehouse, and other improved spaces at a multi-tenant facility, which is known as Air Freight Building Number 1, located at 5600 West Century Boulevard. The proposed lease would have a term of 5 years beginning on July 1, 2007, subject to early termination by either party with 90 days written notice. The proposed lease includes new rental rates as approved by the board on December 15, 2008. The CAO has submitted a report on the proposed replacement lease and recommends approval.
So this is for British Airways cargo.
That's correct. Ramon Olivares with the Airport Commercial Development Group.
Hi.
And I must throw myself at the mercy of the court here, having heard the discussion on item number 2. Unfortunately, this is one that did not come in under the wire. The lease did expire in 2007. And there are a variety of reasons for that, but the two primary reasons are the appraisal process and negotiating rates. Oftentimes does take some time for us to do that and get through
Which
that
is
process.
why you should start, if you had the spreadsheet, you could start.
And
in
believe it or
plenty
not,
of
we
time.
do. I appreciate those comments earlier about the spreadsheet. We do have a spreadsheet. I've been with the airport, with the city a long time, but with the property group a relatively short time at LAX. And I will tell you that I know that our board and our management at the airport is very, very intent and serious about trying to catch up on all these leases because we do have a number of them that expire. I'm not going to tell you that we don't. And you can't expect to see others coming to you within the next several months. We are making a significant effort to prevent that from happening in the future and to catch up on all the ones that are backlogged.
So this is just a replacement lease. They're
Yes.
already in this location for their
Yes.
cargo operations. So
Yes.
this is just
It's a replacement lease with new rental rates.
with new rental rates, higher rates, and
Yes, except for the office rate dropped slightly because the condition of the offices is fairly poor.
what are we doing to correct that? Are we upgrading office facilities for operations like this?
Actually, we are. Our construction and maintenance, this is a building that we own, so we have to maintain it. Our construction and maintenance group is working to upgrade all the systems in the building. In fact, we recently put a new roof on the building at quite a high cost to LAWA. And that the rental rates, in this case, reflect the recovery of those costs. It is
Now-
a multi-tenant facility, by the way.
Oh, okay. Who else is in there?
We've got a number of office tenants, but the main tenants are cargo tenants. It's British, Southwest, and Alaska.
All cargo.
Yes.
How is everybody's cargo doing these days?
I don't have exact numbers to give you, but the cargo, as you may have heard, is on the downswing right now, along with a lot of other things.
And is this lease based on volume or?
Well, one thing I did want to mention to you is that, and one of the things that hung up this particular lease is our board had asked us to take a look at developing a very specific leasing, or rather cargo policy for how we handle, how we award leases, how it is that we extend leases, why it is that we select the tenants that we do for cargo and so forth. And a draft, a working draft of that policy has been developed. We expect to present it to our board probably in February. And
are
that'll
you-
provide us with more guidelines as to how we do that.
And is part of that our idea of wanting to possibly relocate cargo to Ontario? In terms of our whole,
is
that
that'll
part
be,
of
that'll
what
be a
you're-
part of that, yeah. It's a difficult topic. It's complicated, as I'm sure you're aware.
Right.
And this is probably not the best of times for us to try to be really pushing to do that. But we are making efforts to do that, as you know, with the project in Ontario that and you approved recently with Aeroterm.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Mark Adams, again, from the purposes of this lease, British, for example, they don't run dedicated cargo airplanes. The cargo goes out in the passenger airplanes. And so, in terms of the
So
Ontario,
this is not dedicated cargo.
It's not freighter cargo. It's really primarily belly cargo.
the lease is for cargo, but
Right.
the cargo is predominantly belly cargo in the passenger aircraft.
I see.
So relocating to
separate.
Ontario, you can't really separate them.
Okay. But there are some that we can,
Yeah,
but not.
more than
yeah.
others, yeah.
Right. Okay, any questions, Mr.
Just the
Lodge?
one thing, too, I think we should have a big graphic to display that, because half the bellies of the planes, flowers come from South America on commercial passenger airlines. Lufthansa is 2/3 people, 1/3 cargo.
Right.
And they're not going to stop in Ontario and have a cup of coffee or a schnitzel or whatever they'd have and drop off their
Flowers.
cargo. Yeah, they keep going.
No,
So I think we've got to educate the public about that, because everybody says you could, divert it.
Right.
It's complicated.
The rule
It
of
is.
thumb is about half the cargo, and it
Right.
varies, but I mean, the rule of thumb is about half the cargo at LAX comes in.
And I'd recommend approval of this.
Right. Okay, good. How is British Airways doing? How is their financials? Are they doing all right?
As far as I know, they are. I don't have any other information to the contrary.
Okay. All right. Fine. Then, with Tom's recommendation, we'll approve this item
Thank you.
and give you a. I know you put yourself at the mercy of the court. I only have one member of my family that's involved in the court system, my
Right, but
brother,
it's
his
pretty
honor.
good. His honor.
But so we're not the court, but just take it as you heard the discussion. We
Right, we
just think
appreciate
as an international airport, I think that's part of our image of being world class and being on top of all this.
When I said to the previous item, like I said, better than 90%,
Right.
that was reflecting service contracts where we are paying for services from an outside vendor.
Right.
The leases, because they can legally go into a holdover status.
Right, I know. I just think
they're more likely.
I would love for us to get on top of all that and be way ahead of the game. And as you said, it takes
Yeah.
a long time. So when we know they're going to expire, you got to count backwards, and
That's our
including the process at City Hall.
And I also think it should be on the website once you get it done. Okay, type it out this way, use your Underwood, then put it on the website.
Got it.
Computer is here.
Thank you. Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now to
I
item
have to
4.
excuse myself now, if that's okay.
Well, are you excusing yourself, or are you asking for my permission to be excused? Which is it?
I know if I ask for your permission, you will.
Give it to you.
Give it to you, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go.
I'll stay up here for you.
Thank you. And when you walk through the doors at the cathedral, notice that's what he did.
Thank you.
I think it's one of the greatest Madonnas anywhere that he.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Item 4.
Item 4.
The Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval Permanent Board Order Number 086969 and the accompanying ordinance amending the Tariff Number 4, Section 20, regarding Clean Air Action Plan and general rules and regulations for vessels. This would, the amendment would expand the definition of low sulfur marine fuel for purposes of the Harbor Department's Marine Fuel Incentive Program. And the CAO has submitted a report on the proposed tariff amendment and recommends approval.
Good morning,
How are
Catherine
you?
McDermott with
Happy
the
New
Port.
Year.
Happy New Year to you too. And Carter, Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Carter Atkins from the Port of LA as well.
Hi, Carter.
So this item is a modification to our what we call our OGV4, but our low sulfur fuel switch incentive program.
Right.
A number of the lines have asked us whether we could look at using 2% marine diesel oil as well as the 2% marine gas oil that was part of the original plan.
Right.
We looked at it and found that there were no adverse effects, and it achieved the same results. So it's really being considered to allow flexibility in our program.
Is it cheaper?
No, it's not cheaper.
Why do they want it?
It's
I mean, to me,
Some
diesel seems more polluting.
we obtained we
That's-
talked to CARB about this.
Yeah.
If the marine diesel oil is more polluting than marine gas oil,
Yeah.
they confirmed that it was not.
Okay.
This is almost like on-road diesel grade fuel. It's very low sulfur.
It
Okay.
just allows, it may be in some places more readily available.
Okay,
And so
it's
really it just
availability.
allows
Okay.
flexibility.
Okay.
We're at about 30% of total calls participating in this program. Our goal is 60, and
Yeah,
so.
did we think we were going to have more by now?
I mean, I
did.
think we, what, Carter, do you
I
think?
did.
Well, we were
Especially if
thinking
if you're paying the difference. Why wouldn't you participate?
Well, some of the barriers of entry are some of those vessels are lease vessels.
Right.
Like Hyundai, they'll lease the vessel, and so the owners of the vessel will specify they can only use certain fuels. Other areas are
Have we talked to
technical. Well, we're going to have a.
Have we talked to the owners of those
We
vessels?
actually have reached out. Our marketing group has been reaching out, and when Geraldine
Right.
Ness, our executive director, and I were in China a couple months ago, we
Yeah.
met with the head of China Shipping,
Yeah.
and said, "Gee, what's holding it up?" And
Right.
in that case, it's sometimes distance, because this idea, there's an initial resistance to change in an asset this size and this valuable, and so really making sure they had the right information and then getting it through an organization overseas. So we are reaching out to those carriers who have not signed up or are not participating, and Carter can tell you we're having a program for the carriers.
Right.
In a month.
Next Tuesday, we're going to have a roundtable workshop. It's going to be a
We can't-
joint
yeah.
workshop with both
Good.
boards, and we've invited people who are participating in the programs, and then also people who have enrolled in the program, but they're not actually doing fuel switching, and also
Mm-hmm.
companies that have not enrolled. We're bringing in engine manufacturers and the fuels.
Are we
And,
giving?
and
are
we're
we
bringing
giving
in the lines like Maersk who are participating,
right,
and so
right.
really we're trying to show what can
Right.
be done.
Honestly, I'm a little disappointed that we're at 30%. I mean, to me, there's absolutely no reason. I mean, again, such a generous offer from the port to pay the difference. It's easy to do. It's should be readily available. That not everyone is participating, especially when the state rule is going to kick in, and then.
And then we talk
is your,
to
is your,
the lines.
I know.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
we
it
say to
seems
the
to me-
lines. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
It's going to be there.
Right.
And what are you going to do? You're absolutely right.
Right. And when the state, when do we think the state law kicks in?
July 1st, 2009.
And is your incentive going to go away at that point?
We haven't made that decision. It was initially a one-year
Right.
program for
Right.
both Long Beach and LA, so we haven't made the decision yet. I think
Right.
we'll see where we are. But know that we feel exactly as you
Yeah.
do. We think, we're handing out money to
Yeah.
do something good.
Right.
And
That's
there are
really
so many
not-
different types of vessels, so many different types of engines that we're trying to get to this large audience, and also, as Carter points out, an audience that doesn't always own the asset that's coming in. So we're doing all we can.
Yeah.
We're being very aggressive.
Right. What was I going to say? What do we think how many will buy on with this diesel versus the gas that we're doing here today? How many that was an obstacle for?
Well, Hyundai was. They were very interested in the diesel, but they're one of the companies that they've enrolled 20 vessels or so, but
Right.
they've not done fuel switching yet. and we've met with representatives from Hyundai, and
What other incentives do we give them? Anything else?
Well, we have our vessel speed reduction program that Long Beach has, and then our board adopted, and I believe the council
Right.
certified this year. So that's another program where if
But what do we give them?
we give them a financial incentive
Okay.
yearly if their entire fleet slows down within 20 nautical miles
So
of the port.
financial.
Yeah, so we are doing things to financially incentivize companies to go ahead of the rules, which is exactly what the Clean Air Plan
Right.
intended.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm happy to approve this. Do you have any stats on our total emissions reductions?
right now
this?
we're about 5% emission reductions in SOx and diesel particulates.
That's
Kinda
disappointing.
From this program.
Yeah, I know. It's disappointing because I think we had much higher goals for this one. This one was one of those that there was like, it was a no-brainer.
I know.
There was no reason to not participate. And it's perfectly, and it's going to be mandated.
And so I think our charge when we have this meeting next week will be to figure out what the barriers continue to be and
Yeah.
continue to break them down. So.
Right. Well, I appreciate the hard work. I mean, if this breaks it down, it seems to me it might just be another excuse for them not wanting to do it. But if it helps, and you're sure that CARB thinks there's no difference between
Right.
low
That's
sulfur
correct.
diesel and low sulfur gas,
Right.
okay,
That's
then I'm happy
correct.
to approve this tariff
Thank you very
amendment.
much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Finally, item 5.
If-
The Board of Harbor Commissioners submits for council approval a proposed foreign trade zone operating agreement with California Cartage Company, LLC, for the operation of foreign trade zone number 202, Site 1A. California Cartage's facility is located in Wilmington, in Harbor Department-owned warehouse facilities that are leased and operated by California Cartage under a separate agreement. The proposed operating agreement would have a term of 1 year, effective May 1st, 2008 through April 30th, 2009, with an option to renew the term for 1 additional year. The CAO has submitted a report on the proposed operating agreement and recommends approval.
Okay.
Catherine McDermott again and Masa.
Masamori Good morning.
Come on.
Oh,
So
I'm
this is
sorry.
just-
This is a foreign
Just-
trade zone
Right.
operating agreement
with Cal Cartage.
Cartage.
So we're just extending this.
We are approving a new operating agreement since their existing agreement expired last year, and we're doing it for 1 year with a 1-year renewal term.
Okay. What's happening with relocation plans for Cal Cartage?
We are moving forward with the environmental document for the SCIG. We have come up with some property that we have talked to Cal Cartage about in terms of relocation. It certainly is not optimal for them. I believe they're also looking at some property. So we continue to move forward, and I think we have shown them what we can do to try to keep that business there, and they're looking also on their own. So we're moving forward with the SCIG document.
Okay, this is one of those that expired last April. Was it?
Melissa, was that really our delay because we were
I was-
really wrangling about what to do about the term, and there's absolutely no connection between this grant of an economic development incentive program and the property lease. But because the SCIG was there, we were really concerned, and the board was concerned about, are we tying something up in
Right.
some way or creating
Right.
an appearance
Right.
of allowing them to stay.
Right.
So we took some time to think about it, and what we came up with was the 1-year term with a 1-year option. And then we put some specific language in this agreement dealing with the fact there's no implication that we're giving them anything other than this grant, and it's separate from the real property.
Right. So you think you feel comfortable that you are working with them to try to find a good alternative.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
kid you.
I know.
What we have and what they'd like are two different
Okay.
things. But I think we've been very open with them, and we're working with them, and again, they're working on their own to augment what we may be able to give them.
Okay. All right.
This business. We'd like to do whatever we can to keep these
Absolutely. I mean, they've been 40 years. I know. They're a great company. They've been very good to Wilmington, and we appreciate them a lot. But I know it's complicated. It's all about land use. Okay.
the truth.
Well, it's just me, so I can only make I can communicate. Okay. And then thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Done. We're done. Okay, I do have one. Is Chuck? Are you still here?
I'm still here.
Okay. Let's hear from the public.
Here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everyone. Our economy, which includes trade, commerce, affordable housing, transportation, city services, city programs, violence, budget cuts. Last year, it was the same old thing. We talked about it, of what we're going to do. What's it going to be this year? More of the same? The city has no money, less affordable housing, more budget cuts, less services and programs, more violence, less programs for our kids, jobs. All the city council members and the city agency had a nice 3-week vacation to think about it, except Janice Hahn. She worked, I know that. And everyone's waiting for Obama to take office, waiting for his economic stimulus package, waiting for his cure for all of our economic problems, change, things that he didn't cause, and he said there was no quick fix. If you think this city will get their fair share of the package, wow, lots of luck, wake up. So the answer is for us to focus on and find ways to get funding to maintain this city, its healthy existence, its people, and its future. What we don't need is another 2008. It was a frightening and depressing wake-up lesson of things to come, more economic failure that will affect all of us. 2009 is about change, but it won't come to you, or it won't happen by itself. We all need to make it happen, or else. It starts with you and me, and we all need to reach out when others are silent to lead the way in the right direction for change. That's how it is, 2009. You can accept it the way it is, or you can call on Dr. King, happy dreams, or you can make change happen for the future of our city, its people, and its kids. That's how it is. And you can find it in the library, in our Constitution, and our history. Or you can be a machine and not learn a thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, which is why it's a perfect sermon for this committee, because that's why, whether it's the airport or the port, I think we need to have our own economic stimulus package right here in Los Angeles to the best of our abilities within our own resources to keep moving forward with our capital improvement projects, keep providing good jobs. We can do that here in Los Angeles. I'm hopeful we'll get part of the new administration's help, but I think we in Los Angeles, if we really get smart and creative, we can continue to do things that ultimately will be right ready to capture when the economic situation begins to go on the upswing. We'll be ready with waterfront developments and an international airport that is ready to attract and retain international visitors who will come to Los Angeles. Tourism is the second largest industry in Los Angeles, and we don't realize that those are the dollars that people spend here in Los Angeles. They are in our taxis, they're in our hotels, they're in our restaurants, they shop in our shops. That's the money that goes back into the general fund of Los Angeles that then we can give back to the residents in form of good basic services. Thank you very much. Happy New Year.